Welcome to Barchart's weekly series of webinars designed to help you, the investor trader, better understand a variety of trading concepts and ideas, as well as the tools and pages that Barchart provides to help you to make a more informed investment decision. Today's subject, maximizing Barchart's portfolio tools, or learning how to use our portfolio page. Every trader's trade plan needs some way to track, analyze, and check the performance of their trades. Barchart's portfolio page allows subscribers to create portfolios of current investments, paper trade ideas, and help them execute their individual rules of risk, things that we've talked about in the past. Hi, my name is John Rowland, and today what I'd like to do with you guys is show you some of my portfolios that I have, real and paper, how I keep on top of them, and how I let Barchart notify me of significant price changes. It's kind of interesting that we talk about this today and what has happened so far today, and then do some performance health checks on our portfolios. With me today, always, is my partner and our moderator, Gene Baker. Hello, Gene.
Well, good afternoon, John. How are you doing?
I am doing just fine. I'm excited about today's weather starting to get nice in Chicago.
Oh, it's still overcast and rainy, but it's going to steam up this weekend. So,
Oh,
yes,
there
we're
you
headed towards
go.
summer.
It's amazing how it just kind of goes right from like winter to summer in the Midwest nowadays, doesn't it?
It's about right. Yeah,
All right, well, so let's get started then, Gene, if it's all right with you.
absolutely. Let's go.
Okay, great. I just want to remind everybody that all trading has a form of risk, and that it's important that as traders or investors, we need to understand this risk, and that part of that risk, can we bear it or afford it, depending on our financial condition. Also, I want to point out today that we will be looking at portfolios, which could be real or paper, and that these are no way should be taken as an endorsements or recommendations to buy or sell any particular securities. Okay, so just keep that in mind as well as today. All right, so let's get started. All right, so here's our main page, and what I want to do is I'm going to just jump right to tools. And we do have portfolio. I'm going to just show you there's two places where we can find portfolios, our portfolios, or where to get started. But here's portfolio summary. Let's start there. And once this pulls up, what this represents now is a total collection of current and past portfolios, either real or paper, that I have produced over the last year or so. And what the grand total does, it looks at all your portfolios and gives you a performance, active, closed positions, current value, today's returns, and total P&L. Now, don't get overwhelmed here by this total P&L, because there's a lot of things that are going on in this grand total. So the first one that I want to point out to you is the first portfolio here, this 918 portfolio. This is a portfolio that we created in one of our webinars when we looked at the 9 and 18 day futures trading guide. And just to show you what it looks like, here it is, a futures trading guide. And what this page does, it constantly puts you into futures market. So it's always putting us into trades. So this portfolio that I have, right, it represents a lot of trades, a lot of paper trades, and some of them I take, some of them I don't take based on the commodities that I trade. And I'm just going to show you that first of all, open positions in this one particular portfolio only has one position. I haven't really updated this in the last couple of days, but I also wanted to show you that there is a lot of closed positions on this one. and I think there's about over 100 or so. So let's see what we got. Yeah, we got over 100 trades. So this is not really reflective of real trading. It's just kind of just keeping track of that trading guide. So what we can do is we can exclude this from our grand total. And we can do this with all of our portfolios. Some of the portfolios that I have here, for instance, we did a webinar back in September of 2020. So that all those positions have been closed out. Here's we did one on top stock picks back in October. Again, all those have been closed out. So I can eliminate some of these in terms of my portfolios that are still active, right? So one of the portfolios that we have talked about in the past, or the ones that a lot of the webinars that I do, we focused on this one. We did a webinar at the beginning of the year talking about the dogs of Dow, where we looked at the performance or the bottom third of the Dow 30 of stocks that have high dividend yields, and we created this portfolio. So this is one of the ones that I wanted to kind of go into and just kind of update it and look at it and show you the things that we can do in terms of managing our portfolio, or look at our portfolio and see how it's doing. So first of all, right off the top of the bat, you can see that now we break it down by this particular portfolio. The entry value that we started with a hypothetical account of 100,000, and active P&L, how much its profit or loss is. Have we closed any positions? And we haven't closed any positions on this particular portfolio. So we're going to hold this one throughout the year. But also, where's the current value? What is today's profit or loss? And what is the total profit and loss? Now, this morning when I was checking this out, it was a tough day for all stocks, all markets. This portfolio was down almost over 2%, and it's come back a little bit today. So right off down here on the top here, we have how is that portfolio going to be shown to me as I use it. So intraday means that we're going to just see the market as is, as the market is trading as today. If I change it to end of day, then it's only going to show me the portfolio as the end of the day. So if I had it on the end of the day for today, what it would be show me would be the end of the day pricing or performances from yesterday. I kind of prefer the intraday because I'm going to be visiting this throughout the day. Also, we have our views. Now, if you watched our custom view portfolio, custom views webinar a few weeks ago, we talked about these, but there are some default views that we can use to help us to look at our portfolio. First of all, here's a portfolio view, and the portfolio view across the top there, gives us some basic information. The change for today, the percent change for today, the market value, how much that individual asset or stock or security is worth compared to the current price and how many shares I own. The total change, how much has price changed from my entry value, a percentage of that, and then profit for today. Has this stock performed well today, or has it gone down? And you can see for the Dow, all the Dow stocks here for my Dow dogs are all down today. But then again, our total profit the last time the last price was updated, and then we see notes and edits and links. So we'll talk about notes, edits, and links in a moment. We do have some other default views that you can use in your portfolio. For instance, the details will allow you to go in and look at your quantities, your entry dates, if you exit a trade, your exit date. And again, last price, changes, total profit. And again, you see those notes and edits. If I go below that, we have visualization views. So this one's a kind of cool. I like this one a lot. I like to look at this one. And you get four little wheels here. One is, our investment weights. Now, when we created this portfolio, we said we were going to do an equal weight. And you can see that this pretty much is pretty equally weighted right now. There are a few of them that have lost some value and some of them have gained in value. But, we split this portfolio up between 10 stocks and $10,000. So our weight can give us an idea. What we could do here in this one is if we see one of our stocks is performing well and we might be seeing it's taking up a greater amount of weight, we might make some adjustments to our portfolio, maybe take a little money off the table. And vice versa, if I have a particular stock that is not faring well, then that might give me permission to eliminate that stock from my portfolio. Market cap, the size of the stock. The other one that I like down here is, our sector weights, right? Are we balanced sector weighted? Again, I'll show you another portfolio that is weighted to one or two sectors. Again, that could be good, that could be bad, or that could be a sign of me that I need to make some adjustments. The other one that I really like is this one, is this Barchart opinion. And the Barchart opinion here is based on technical indicators, not somebody at Barchart sitting down and going, oh, this is my opinion on this stock. It's about 13 different technical analysis. Now, what was kind of interesting about this one, when we set this portfolio up, it was based on the fact that a lot of these stocks were underperformers. And so a lot of these stocks had sell opinions. In other words, their technical indicators were on the sell side. And you can see that, of the 10 that we have, a lot of them, was that 7 of them, 6 or 7 of them have a very strong buy, right? All of the indicators, when it says 100%, all those indicators are all saying buy. And only one is in the sell. So again, if I'm looking at this portfolio and they're all saying sell, that might be an issue with that portfolio. Or, the other thing I can think about in this one is, if I invest in a sector that I believe is going to perform well, and then at some point, all those investments in that particular portfolio are performing really well, they're all going at full gangbusters, that could also be a sign for me to say, hey, I need to look at some ways to take some profits, or look at some ways to lock in some profits. All right. So we also have our main views, which is typical of a lot of the data pages we have. Technical, little technical stuff, relative strength, volatility, volume, 52-week performance. Again, I like this page because it kind of gives me a good idea of how I can look at each individual stock on that alpha, that weighted alpha, or year to date, or 1 month. And anytime I want to just look at a particular column, I can always just click on the column and I can sort by that column there. For instance, if I do year to date, again, here's a way to do a performance update checking on this portfolio. You can see that of the 10 stocks in the Dow dogs, 7 are doing well and 3 are not. Again, this could give me some information that says, hey, maybe these bottom 3 after this year-to-date process have not performed, and so maybe these are the stocks that I want to shed from my portfolio. But also, we could look at those that performed really well in terms of performance. Again, looking for permission or ways to lock in profit or maybe take profits, okay? But also any of our custom views, any of the views that you might create for your own personal benefit. For instance, here's a comparative one, custom view. I can look at this, and this one, I got a couple different things in here. I have, this percent change and a monthly, 6-month, 52-week high and lows. I'm a real big fan of looking at how far has price moved off a 52-week high, or how far has price moved off of a 52-week low, to make some corrections. And you can see for our Dow, dogs of the Dow, today was a tough day for us, but most of them are only down about 5 to at the most. Well, I see Merck is down almost 10%. So that could be telling me that these stocks have had a nice run, but they're having a bit of a correction, right? If they were down 15 or 20%, then that might be cause for concern. And then some analyst ratings. In some other. Here's one that's based on fundamentals. Again, a custom view. So I can create these views and use them in terms of doing analysis for my portfolio. All right. So what I want to do now is go into the edit button, and I just want to show you some ways that we can do some editing in here. And we're going to look at some other editing in terms of our portfolio. So here's my dogs of the Dow, and one of the things that you can do here is where it says default view, these default views that we have, notice that my default view is the portfolio view. Here you can choose how you're going to see your portfolio when you revisit it on the website. You can choose one of the ones that we've created, or you could choose one of the ones that you create. The other thing that I think is important for you, especially for portfolio analysis, is we can send emails to ourselves based on 4 different times of day on the information that is inside of our portfolio. So here I picked the end of the day. I like to get this at the end of the day. It's a quick way for me to look and see, hey, how did my portfolio do? How did those individual stocks? Instead of having to spend all that time, going to the website and looking at each individual stock, here it's all nicely done for me. Now on the email format, I just want to show you that you only have 2 choices. You have the portfolio view and you have the main view. All right. Okay. Actually, let me go back here for a second. If you want to reorganize your portfolio, in other words, we saw that Merck was not doing well. Verizon was one of the stocks that was not performing well. I can come over here and just move these up or down to reorganize it. Or I can sort by alphabetic or list or by name. All right, so I'm going to change Verizon because that's been one of the stocks that has not performing well. And I put it at the bottom of my list. Okay, so the other thing that we can do is we can edit on each individual asset that's inside of our portfolio. So here we have time, notes, and edit. Now, if I just put my finger, my cursor over this, wave over this, it's going to give me a quick little snapshot of elements of this particular stock. For instance, it'll tell me the quantity, how many shares I have, what action I took on this trade, my entry date, my entry price, and then something called high and low flags. Now, I'm going to pause here for a second. Notice how that for Chevron today, our little cog wheel here is flashing red, and you do see the red line over here. If I go back to the edit here, it says here the low flag is in bold print, and this is telling me that my price action for today is below one of my low flags. This is one of the ways we're going to keep check of our portfolio. I might have some rules of risk that I've designed that says, hey, if price of Chevron falls below $107.62, I'm going to make some adjustments to my portfolio or to that particular stock. And you can see that the current price for Chevron is 104.18. So it's significantly lower for today. So if I click on edit here, this is where we can make those notes. We can make those high and low flags. And notice here my low flag here, that value of 107 and 62. I put some notes in here, right? I'm looking for a pre-COVID target of 115.50. But later on, I'm going to show you how we can actually set about setting an exit or editing to how we close out a trade. We'll get to that in a bit. All right, but also those notes, right? And so you can see that I have some notes here. Here, IBM, I say sell in May, go away, which is kind of funny that we're talking about something like that today and the market is struggling a bit. And then I have a little note here that says 3 tops at 148.50. In other words, that's probably a target I'm looking at. Or I'm concerned if price gets below 141. Now, you know, we're kind of closer to the bottom end of that range. Here on Dow, it says that there's a dollar gap below 67.19. So that would be concern for me. I see that, you know, our price today right now is 68.87, but earlier today we got very close to entering into that gap. Here, Walgreens, I'm looking at a multi-year high at around $59. So that might be a potential target for me, right? And again, I have those low and high flags that will allow me to make some of those adjustments based on the rules of my risk. So the first two that really pop out today is Chevron and Verizon. Both of those are telling me that these low flags have been hit. So let's look at this Verizon trade for now. And it says the low flag here is at 58.62. So I can start making adjustments to my low and high flags based on some chart analysis, or I can make some notes based on some chart analysis as well, right? Which we can do through flip charts. Now, here is Chevron, and what I've done here is what's cool about flip charts is it allows me to quickly look at each one of my individual stocks, but also in flip charts, we do have ways to do ad studies or drawing tools to do things with our charts. Now, for instance, in this one for Chevron, my 2 blue lines represent 2 targets that I was looking at, and these come from a higher time frame. Right, and you can see that we've kind of bounced off of this recent high around, I think it was 113.11. And the other tool I used in this analysis for Chevron was, you know, I took this ray or this line right here, and what I wanted to know was I wanted to know what a 10% correction would look like. And the reason why was, you know, I might look at a 10% correction as something that is normal to a market, and something that's greater than 10%, I might get a little bit nervous or might be fearful that price would fall. So from our recent high of, I think it was 113.11, so I just adjusted this a little bit. There it is, 113.11. Oops. So 101.80 would be a 10% retracement, and you can see today we got really, really close to a 10% correction off of our most recent 52-week high. But also what I was looking on this one was this price action looks very similar to this price action here, where we made a high, we corrected, we came back and tested the same high, and then, you know, bounced off of that. And this price action is kind of acting the same way. So this might give me confidence that Chevron will go back up, maybe take out that high, or my rules of risk, I might make those adjustments, you know, somewhere below 101.80. Again, if I go back to my chevron here, my notes. So here I have a low flag of 107 and 62. Probably needed to make an adjustment there, but here I could come back and say, all right, well, I'll need to be readjust this. I'm going to lower this where I want it. I've now made that 10% correction, and now I'm going to reset my low flag. All right, and notice now my red line has disappeared. Verizon below $58.62. Again, I could go to my charts and look at Verizon, and there's that, right? $58, right? Probably, I was looking at probably at this green candle here, and now the market has gap below here. So my risk management rules might have said, hey, this would be one of those stocks that I would probably have stopped myself out or taken some profit on. Or if price bounced off of here and went back up, then this is where I could move my stop up if that's my rules of risk on this particular trade. Now, the other thing we can do with flip charts is you can come over here, and this is another way where we can kind of set some management tools of risk, is I can come into alerts here and click on that and create alerts that will tell me when a certain price scenario has evolved. So for instance, here on the chevron, all right, it tells I have alert was if price is less than 102.80 on an intraday or 101.80. That was that number we looked at. If the 20 to 50-day moving averages cross and creates a sell signal, that would be some things that I could do. And again, I have notes that will tell me what I want to do when those indicators are. And so here it says, close below 102.80. I would tell myself that I probably want to be out of this. If we got price back above that high, that 13.11, right here, I'm going to move my stop up to 105.50. I'm doing a technical trailing stop. And I can add all kinds of alerts based on all kinds of different information. Again, notice that here I can send these alerts to myself, and I'm going to send them to me either through a intraday price movement, or end of the day. It's a way for me to manage it. And what are some of the alerts that I can choose? Well, a lot of them are similar to a lot of the other things that we've done in the past. Price movements, for instance, I might say, has price moved a certain percentage, or a new low or new high, right? I want to know that. For instance, today's low, right? Is it making a new low based on a 5-day low, right? And I could set that condition and save it to myself. And then what it would tell me is, hey, yeah, notice that up here on the right-hand corner, there's a little orange light just telling me, yeah, today Chevron price action is making a new 5-day low. So this would be another way to alert me of a potential large price movement, right? Some other alerts that we have that I have here. Here I'm looking at. I have one alert that has two aspects to it, a greater than 149 and a 20-day moving average that gives me a sell signal. Or here I want to know if price is less than 140.92, all right? Now, I can create all of these alerts for all these individual stocks. And let me go back here for a second. And up here in my tools section, there is something called our alerts center. And this is our alert center. And notice here, this is where I can enable the email to send me that alert. Or when I'm on the website, I can enable to give me that little screen that just popped up, that little orange screen. based on the alert that I've created. And again, you have all the different stocks, different alerts. Now notice that, for instance, for Dow today, I had an alert that says, did the market make a new 5-day low based on today? And you can see that it said, yeah, it did. It was triggered today at 10:53. So if I wanted to reinstate this alert, this is where I come back and turn that alert on. Now, notice that when I go to turn that alert on, it's telling me, yeah, the price is still below the new 5-day low. So it's alerted me again, right? Or I could say, hey, is price below that 67.30? Again, it's telling me, yeah, price right now is got down to 67.27. All right. So this is where you can come back and reestablish those alerts, or if you want, you can also manage these alerts by deleting them or making adjustments to them as well. The other thing that you can do is you can go to flip charts from here and look at your charts to see if those technical indicators or those price actions where you can make those alert changes. All right. Okay.
Hey, John, before we move on, could you clarify for our listeners, please? You just showed how to set up these alerts that will actually trigger as the market is moving. What is the difference between doing that and setting the high-low flag like you have on Verizon? Can you
So
go
the
through
high,
that?
yeah, so the alerts will actually be based on a technical indicator or a price action. And when price touches those levels, it's going to send those alerts to me either through an email or on the web page. The high low is more of a passive indicator. It's going to just show it in my portfolio. For instance, right here on my Verizon, it's just going to show it in terms of uh, if I get a low, it's going to be a red indication, or if I get a high, I'm going to get a green indication. I'm not going to get an alert sent to me via email that I've gotten below a low flag. Now, if I wanted to use a low flag alert, then I'd have to set it up as an alert, but not
Oh,
in a portfolio. Yes.
okay, and can you do me a favor? Just go to the right to the links column, click on that, and show our users how, if you wanted to, you can add an alert right there. You have all these different options. So if you wanted to really set a price alert that would send you an email or a text or an on-screen notification, that's where you would do so, as well as in the flip charts. Okay, that's great. I had a few people asking about that, and I just wanted to make sure that we're clear on what the difference is.
Okay, great. I hope I answered it right. Did I, Gene?
Yeah, yes, absolutely.
Okay. Okay, good. Um, So that's one way we can manage our portfolio to alert us of potential price changes. So there is another way that we can do this, and we've done this in the past when we look at watch lists or data sets that we've had. We can come into our screener, and again, now what we're going to do here is we're going to create some screeners based on um, our particular portfolio. One of our portfolios here, and this one is the Dogs of Dow. Now, just to show you where you can find that, if you're going to do this from the beginning, you can see where it says my lists, right? And in here, my lists will take you to my portfolios, right? But I just went right to portfolios, and I could use this screener. I could select all my portfolios, or I can narrow in on a very particular portfolio. So we've used this before. We've used a stock screener before to lower candidates, but here I want to show you how you can use this to help you set yourselves some notifications of some things, or you could come to the screener to look to see what's going on in our market. So let me just show you two that I'm particularly fond of. I might come in here and look at where it says new highs and lows, and I'm going to look for a new low date. And I'm concerned about prices going down, and I'm going to say I want to know if the market is making a new monthly low. I'm going to add that to my screener, but I'm not looking at a range of dates. I just want to know when it was made within the last session. I want to know, did the market make a new monthly low today? And I'll screen on those results, and I have no results. None of my dogs of the Dow are making a new monthly low. That's a good thing for me, right? But let's go back to this set filter, because I kind of want to show you how this works. Is maybe I'll say I want a new low date, but not a monthly low. I want to know a new 5-day low, right? And I'm going to add that. And again, I want to know, did I make a new 5-day low within today's session, and look at those results. And here you see that of the 10 stocks that are in my portfolio, these 6 made new 5-day lows. Again, this could be something that would be important for me in terms of my risk management. So the next step, what we can do is we can save this screener. If this is a analysis that I'm going to use, I'm going to save this screener. And again, I'm just going to make this, name it something like 5-day low, something easy like that. And I could write a little description of what this screener is. And again, I can send this to myself. I can send it either midday or at the end of the day. Another way, again, to check on my portfolio. The other thing is, again, I can pick the view that I want, right? My main view just gives me regular pricing. Maybe I want to look at that portfolio view, or I want to have that comparative view, right? So there are ways that we can do it. And also my results here. So I only have 10 in this portfolio, but if I had multiple positions here, I could change that to, like, say, the top 10 or top 25, or top 50. Okay. All right. So this is a really good way to keep in touch with your portfolio, especially for those screener events that you want to use. Another one that I use is I look at gaps. And, equities are big gapping markets. And so I'm going to do gap downs, but I'm going to do a percentage of gap downs. I'm going to add that. Now, there's a little tricky here, is that you have to think in terms of how a computer is thinking and not how you and I would think. We think about gaps up or down, but we want to say we want a gap down less than, right? Less than, a gap down less than. And again, we need to put in a negative number. So I want it less than, in other words, let's say I say a gap down of 1%. I want it, those gaps that are going to be greater than negative 1%, but they're going to be less than. So I'm just going to show you this. So I'm going to say less than 1%. And if I did that, you can see Cisco, Chevron, and Dow, they gap down 1.6%, 2%, 1.4%. So I might set something like, I want to know when market gaps down 2%. That might be important to me in terms of technical analysis. All right. So we have our alerts that we can set up through our charts or through the portfolio, and we have our screener that we can set up as well to help us manage our portfolios. Okay. All right. So let's go back to dogs of the Dow. And one of the things that I wanted to do today, I thought would be kind of cool, is I want to see how my portfolio is done performance-wise as it relates to, let's say, the Dow or the broader market. But also, this gives me an opportunity to show you how to create a portfolio. So I'm going to come in here and I'm going to create a new portfolio. And I'm thinking about like an experiment, right? We have our portfolio. That's what we're watching, we're looking at, or we're trying to decide if that's a strategy that we want. And we might want to create a control, a group of stocks or sector to look to see how our performance is. So the one I was thinking was, well, let's make this our control portfolio. And I'm going to create it. And notice it says I have no transactions in my portfolio, so we need to add a transaction. And what I was thinking was, let's do the Dow index, the spider ETF. And so I see a couple questions in here about, what is cash value? So here is when we set up our portfolio, we can create a cash value that every time I take a trade, I will draw upon that. Now, the way I do that, I come back in here into edit. And we said that we started with 100,000 for our dogs a Dow, so we're going to do 100,000 for our collective control. All right, I'm going to save that. I'm going to add a transaction. And to make this real, enter. To make this real, we got to make it like we invested that $100,000 the same time we invested on our dogs of the Dow. So we're going to be a buy action. I'm going to go back in history and look at the date that we started our dogs of the Dow, which was on the 4th. Now I need an entry price. Now I'm going to put this entry price in. I already looked it up for you guys, but I'm going to show you how you can find that in a second here. All right. And that entry price was based on the opening trade on the first day of the year. And so that was 301.93. So that was how much it was going to cost. I'm using $100,000. So I'm going to take that price, I'm going to divide it into 100,000, and that's going to give me a quantity of 300 and I think it is 31.2 shares. Now, if I want to make a cash adjustment, again, my 100,000, I can do that. And when I apply this, now hopefully I did my math right? You can see that I spent almost all of my 100,000. I only have 78 cents left. So we did do our math right. But here now I can start doing those analysis. Let's go back to our portfolio summary. And where's our control? Well, I think it's down here at the bottom. There it is. So let's go back and go to tools, which takes me to my portfolio organizer. And just like how we can organize individual stocks or watch lists, I can do the same here. So let's bring this one up next to our dogs of the Dow so we can do that quick analysis. Go back to our portfolio summary. And we can see that, oops, I didn't take it up high enough. That's all right. Here's our dogs of the Dow. And, for so far this year, we're up about 15,000, or it's returned about 15.74%. The Dow itself, the ETF itself, is only up 12%. So our dogs of the Dow is outperforming the Dow. Now, what I was going to look at today is kind of see how our portfolio is done well under the stress of the market. And you can see that today, though, we're down about 1%, where the Dow itself is only down 8. So our performance of our portfolio today on a day-to-day basis is actually done a little bit less. But over so far this year to date, profit loss from where we entered the trade, we're definitely ahead of the game. Okay. All right. So let's go back to this portfolio. So I do want to show you some other things that we can do. Let's say you wanted to do a portfolio of some mixed assets, right? Let's say you got a bag of silver dollars that you keep underneath your bed, or you have a real estate investment, right? So what you can do is, now we can't track real estate, or we can't track that bag of silver dollars that you've got underneath your bed, but we can create what we call a cash value. So we can go something like this, cash. I'm going to enter that, and I'm going to enter the value of the cash, right? And my entry price will be $1. So let's say I have $10,000 worth of silver dollars. I'm going to add that to my portfolio. Okay, so that's a way you can do real estate, that you can do, non-traded security assets. Maybe you have a car, antique car, or something like that. But again, we can't show if it prices appreciates or depreciates. Okay. All right, so let me pause here for a second and look at a couple of your questions. I think I'm kind of answering these as we're going along, but I do want to show you another portfolio to show you how you can manage this stuff. So Ted asks, could you show entering sales and tracking current stocks positions after the sale? In other words, Ted, I think, are you asking, is this not a short position? In other words, you say, I sold a stock out and then I want to see how that stock performs after I sold the stock out. I think that's what you're asking. And no, once you exit a trade from your portfolio, it stops tracking that current position. But what you could
Yeah,
do, go ahead, Gene.
I think what Ted is asking is, so when you created your transaction, the position was a buy. You entered as a buy. I think he's asking if you can create your initial position as a sell.
Okay, I wasn't sure of that, but yes, you can definitely do that. You can do, and for futures trading, right? I mean, futures markets, it's very easy to sell as it is to buy. So you might have a lot of selling trades in a futures position. So yeah, you can do that, and then it would keep track of the portfolio or that position based on a sell. So if price went down, you would do well. For instance, I'm just going to do an example. So we can see Chevron here, the current price is 103.65. Let's just pretend that we sold on that a sell flag, right? That low flag, which I think was 107. Well, let's make it 100 shares, just make it easy. And I think the price was 107.62, and I could apply that, and there would show you the results of that particular trade. Okay, I think that's what you're asking, Ted, right?
Yeah, well, actually, Ted just clarified with me that he wants to make many buys and sells and track the current position. So he'd be buying multiple lots of Chevron, and let me go ahead and answer that. So yes, you can make multiple buys, and each of them are recorded as a separate transaction in the portfolio. And John's going to show you a little bit later on how to close out a transaction, but yes, that's possible. I hope that answers your question, Ted.
Cool. All right. Yeah. So, I mean, since we're talking about editing trades here, what I could do is come back into this trade. And again, I sold this trade here. Let's say I want to exit this trade. And let's just use current price, 103.75. There it is. That's the current price. And my exit day is today. And I'll apply that. And notice that now it shows a closed position that was liquidated. So that's a way we can do that, Ted. So if you had multiple positions or multiple shares, that's a way to. Gene, do you want to address an aspect of that's going to come up?
Absolutely. So we had hoped to have this ready for today's webinar. It's actually going out this afternoon as an update to the website. But right now, when you close out a transaction, like John just liquidated a transaction, it assumes that you're closing the entire transaction. A little bit later on today, when you close out a position, you can make a partial close and it will liquidate what you've closed and keep the remaining quantity open as an open transaction. So look for that update a little bit later on this afternoon.
Cool. I'm actually looking forward to that. That is a great update that will definitely help you folks with your portfolio management. All right, so let's go back to this portfolio here, TP 2100. So this stands for Top Picks 20-day, 100-day moving average. And what I did was we did a Top Picks webinar back in October of last year. And for that month of October, what I did was, here's a way for me to do some paper trading. And this is really, I think, a good, important aspect of the portfolio. So these are the current positions that are still out there, that are the scenario or the technical indicator, this 20-day, 100-day moving average process would allow me to stay in these trades. Now, I have had other trades that we put on based on that 100-day technical indicator, and a lot of those have been closed out, some for profit, some for loss. And this is really really important for us in terms of doing our analysis, especially when doing paper trading, is that technical analysis or that trade plan that I put together, is it working? Is it doing the things that I wanted to do? And for instance, on this particular portfolio, you can see, yeah, there's a few trades that have been stopped out for loss, but notice that the losses are relatively small and that the trades that I'm still in are the ones that are still active, and they're the ones that are doing particularly well. I mean, there was one that was closed out for a nice profit. Now, again, we got to stick to our rules. We got to stick to our guns. I mean, for instance, I think this is kind of what Ted is saying, is if I look at, for instance, Seagate, right? This is a trade that, based on my rules, we got stopped out and we lost money. But if I look at Seagate today, it's $100 stock. So, don't get upset. Don't worry about things that you missed out. Just making sure that whatever strategy or plans that you are putting together, that they are working in the long run. And so this strategy, one of the ones that I'm particularly fond of, this 2100-day crossover, has me in these stocks. And if I go to my flip charts, and I have a template that I've already created. Here's my 2100-day. The black line represents the 100-day moving average, and the green represents the 20-day moving average. You can see that all of these are still performing well. Now, some of them have performed better than others. Some of them are starting to show, changes in momentum, but the technical indicator itself is still saying to stay long. And this is kind of what trading's all about, right? Stop yourself out, small losses, let your profits run. I mean, this is kind of the basic 101 of trading. So let's go back to top stocks. I just want to show you that real quick because we're getting close to the top of the hour. So here's today's top stock picks, and I wanted to show you some of the things that we can do here. And I looked at this morning, and the market was down, so I don't see any 2100s here, okay? But let's just use this first one right here and just pretend that it was a 2100. Here, I'm going to create a portfolio now based on those 2100s for the next X amount of days, or maybe for a month or 6 weeks or 6 months, or maybe I just keep putting them all in there until I fill up my portfolio. So again, I can come over to links, and this is where we can add to a portfolio that I've already created, or one that if I want to create a new one. And so let's add that to our control. And again, I need to put in that data. Let's say 100 shares, I'm buying it today. Let's use that price, $2.78, and I'm going to add it to my portfolio. Notice I have no cash adjustments because I'm not really drawing off a real account if I wanted to do that risk management. I just want to know what this stock is going to do. All right. So I see a couple questions here about options. So, what I thought I'd do for fun, maybe we'll come back and look at this portfolio sometime in the future, is let's just look at a couple other markets or assets. Let's see, how about top surprises for ETFs? Let's see what we got. Any bullish surprises here. One-time leverage ETFs. I see a lot of bonds, probably flight of safety. I do see gold was up today. Now, the one that I did see this morning, let's see if it's still on the chart here, it moved away. It was a dry freight, which I thought was kind of interesting, but I don't see it there right now. So maybe it's backed off a bit. But let's just pick gold. Let's do the gold iShares because that seems to be a lot of people are talking about gold. This new environment of inflationary, right? And so on this one, again, I could do 100 shares. I can do it based on the entry price of the current price, and I'll enter that trade. So another folks ask about options. There are some limited capabilities of options. I can do unusual. Let's say if I go to unusual options and I want to keep track of an options position, I can do that. Right. I noticed in Tesla today, there's been a lot of interest in downside puts. Right. So maybe here's a 480 put with 23 days. Right. I can add that position to my portfolio. Right. Let's do that to our control. Again, what is the price, right? What is the value? How many I'm going to do? I'm going to do one. I'm going to buy that option. What is that price? Looks like it's around $8.70. Okay. And then I can apply it. All right. Now, in options, though, we do run into, for instance, if I do cover calls, and I think, Gene, you can help me with this, is I don't think we can do a complex option strategy to a portfolio. Is that correct?
That's correct. And actually, I'm just trying to answer a question about option spreads right now. So an option spread or adding an option to a portfolio, you're only adding a singular strike price for the underlier. If you want to add a spread, you really do need to add both sides of the spread to the portfolio.
Excellent. Yeah, that's what I thought. So I did see somebody was asking about mix options and stocks and portfolios for delta hedging. Yes, so that you need to add the different legs of your spread trade. Okay. Futures trading, again, there's some cool things here. The futures trading guide, I was just kind of looking to see if there was anything that signaled for today so we can have some fun. Spring wheat, rough rice. I was thinking about just adding gold again because it's kind of in everybody's forefront. Let's see. In the gold trade right now, you can see it actually gave us a buy signal back on April. But, again, I could enter that into my portfolio, my control portfolio. And, I'm going to maybe buy one gold futures contract. And what's that value? 1881. And I'll add that to my portfolio, right? And check my portfolio. Here's my control portfolio. And there's all those elements that we've added to it. All right. Okay. So we are at the top of the hour. I do think that I've answered most of your questions. I hope you guys enjoyed today's session. Jean, is there anything that I missed, do you think?
A couple of things. A lot of people, besides whether or not you can add an option to a portfolio, they're asking about other asset classes. Yes, you can create portfolios for futures, for Forex symbols, for cryptos, for really for any symbol that we carry on the Barchart website. So that is available for you. And a few of the other questions that have come up are kind of specific. So I would say that if you have very specific questions, please email support@barchart.com about how to look at your portfolio in comparison to a benchmark. That's about all I would say to close this out.
Okay, great. Yeah, so folks, get in there, practice with it. I really employ you to learn how to set your screeners to help you maximize your trading efforts. In other words, let Barchart do the work for you. Set your rules of risk, your plans using the screeners. Use the alerts, use those technical indicators, use those price actions to help you make yourself aware of these price actions, and let Barchart do the work for you. Let us help you manage a lot of these portfolios, a lot of these positions, and not only real trading, but also to help you learn and grow as a trader in terms of trading ideas or technical indicators, or some of our premium pages that go into some of the aspects of technical analysis or recommendations or other parts. For instance, on our stock page, our top picks page. Some of my trades, I don't want to spend a lot of time on this one, but a lot of the trades in one of my portfolios that I have, and again, this is not an endorsement or recommendation, that I have came from my top picks, and some of the trades that I've maintained throughout the year, the ones that I've been adding to my portfolio, a lot of them came from those technical indicators. Okay. All right.
We're gonna talk about next week.
Oh yeah, I forgot about that, Gene.
I didn't. I did not. Let's talk about next session.
Okay, next Wednesday, we're going to make sense of these skyrocketing commodity prices. What's going on? Is this really inflation, or is this just an imbalance between real supply and real demand? We'll look at some terminology, backwardation and contango, some things for my futures traders out there who are interested in learning about that. But also we'll look at, is there some underlying factors that could be driving these commodity prices? Not only issues with supply chains, supply and demand, physical supply and demand, but we're going to look at the dollar and the dollar index, see if we can get some clues about where futures prices or commodity prices are going to go in, let's say, the next 6 months or to a year. So I'm looking forward to talking about that subject. So until then, I want to wish everybody the best of health, stay safe out there, and the good of all trading.
Thank you, everybody, for your attention today. We're glad you joined us, and we hope to see you again in an upcoming session. Thanks again. Bye.